All right, guys, welcome into the Kodiak Broncos podcast. I'm doing a little bit different of a style of video today. I'm actually doing a mini collaboration with CU Andy on Twitter and Andy NFL on Substack. So follow Andy on Twitter. He is one of the smartest draft minds that I've ever been around. He's really, really sharp, teaching me new things about this draft class and scouting in general every single day. So make sure you follow him. I'm going to put his handle on the screen right now if you want to go follow him on Twitter. But today, I'm going to be looking at one of his articles, and I'm going to be doing my own little mini film review and providing my insights as to how these guys stack up in the NFL draft and how they would make great Broncos. So we're going to start off with LeQuint Allen, the running back out of Syracuse. And with LeQuint Allen, if you were looking for a third down back in this draft, or a guy who can at least be a pure three down back, meaning provide you some good stuff on first and second down, but really does his best work on third down, LeQuint Allen is your guy. And I've kind of been on the LeQuint Allen train ever since our guy Marquis Sports pointed him out to me. But overall, he is probably one of the best receiving backs in this draft. I have him up there alongside Travion Henderson as far as, pass catching chops and everything like that. And he could provide a lot to the Denver Broncos. Okay. Round 3, round 4, if he's available, honestly, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Go right ahead because LeQuint Allen would just add so much to his offense. And the production is absolutely fantastic. I believe he ran for over 1,000 yards in 2023 and 20. Oh, I'm an idiot. It says it right there in the article. But 20 total touchdowns is what we got to focus on there because I feel like, once again, we didn't have a lot of guys who could create on third down. We also didn't have a lot of guys who could create in the red zone. So let's watch some LeQuint Allen, and you're going to see why I'm excited for him as well. All right, so take note of the down and distance there. We got Syracuse versus Georgia Tech. So just recognize that we have nobody on our roster currently, before the draft and before the offseason, that can do what LeQuint Allen does on this play. Does a great job, even though there were blockers out in front of him. Does a good job individually creating, still staying patient. And this was one of the biggest gripes I had last year, is that even if things were there for our running backs, they just didn't take them. And good doesn't always have to be complex. He did his job. He did his whole well. Yeah, good stuff right there. So this one is against NC State, and once again, just hits the hole. Nothing too fancy, but to be completely honest, we don't need a guy who can just run over dudes. We need a dude who can just do spectacular things, be reliable in the red zone, and that's one of LeQuint Allen's best traits as a player. Next up, we got Damien Martinez out of Miami. And yes, he is kind of buried in this deep running back class, as mentioned by CU Andy in this article, but this is going to track. When you watch the film that I'm about to show you, second in yards after contact per attempt, only behind Ashton Jeanty amongst running backs in this whole class. And highest success rate on third and fourth and short in college football. And the highest success rate when contacted behind the line of scrimmage in the class with 30%. So if you're just looking for a guy who can provide so much with individual creation, Damien Martinez is your guy. So he's basically what would be a reroll on Estime. Like, I know that Estime had a lot of really good traits and a lot of similar traits to Martinez last year. But if the Broncos coaching staff does not trust Estime, which, I would kind of lean with the idea that they don't because they made him inactive for the playoff game. Damien Martinez is who I think we could look to replace him with. So when you watch him, it just takes a comical amount of guys to bring him down. I'm going to show you 2 clips against Louisville right now. All right, this play is just pure comedy. So if you remember Javonte Williams this year in his touchdown run against Atlanta, where he had a whole bunch of Falcons trying to bring him down, but it didn't work. Look what happens right now when Damien Martinez has a whole wall of Cardinals trying to drag him down. And second in yards after contact per attempt, only behind Ashton Jeanty. And it's easy to see why. It absolutely tracks when you're watching him make these plays. I've just never seen a running back need so many defenders to drag him down. So this would definitely be a nice change of pace from what we've had with our dudes. It feels like we don't have anybody that can break a tackle, and we haven't had one for a long time at the running back position. So, yeah, this one's just another really funny one right here. Not as ridiculous, but from the tight, I really love watching this run. Still takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Cardinals were in on that one. So, yeah. Okay, Tahj Brooks. I see Tahj Brooks in those lists like, top 15, top 20 running backs in the class, but I don't really know anything about him because a lot of people aren't willing to talk about him, and a lot of people aren't willing to talk about his traits that could be really, really nice for NFL offenses. But with Tahj Brooks, back-to-back seasons with 1,500 yards, and in 2024 had 17 rushing touchdowns. Really nice frame with low center of gravity, and yes, he can find the second level. He can break to the second and third level of an opposing defense. So one of my biggest complaints about the Broncos skill position guys is I feel like we just don't have a lot of guys who are opportunistic. I actually feel like the whole offense in general was not opportunistic last year compared to what they could have been. I feel like on third down, we didn't have a playmaker. We didn't have guys who were, making game-changing plays. And anytime I watch Tahj Brooks, that is what we are getting. He might not have the highest ceiling in the NFL. I know that CU Andy mentions here in this article that he is, the only real weakness he sees is going down on contact and falling through tackles. But, he's a tough, positive yardage running back who will be a nice day 3 pick. And I'm about to show you actually some nice plays that he made at opportunistic moments to give Texas Tech, prime field position, or in this first case, a touchdown. One thing I complained about a lot this year for our current Broncos team is that we just weren't opportunistic enough. And this is literally at the end of the half. And Tahj Brooks just runs out of the backfield here and just smokes everybody in the second level and is able to catch a touchdown. So this was absolutely fantastic work by him. Props to him for, finding the soft spot in the defense, left the linebacker and safety flat-footed. That's a play that looks like it would honestly happen to our team and not for our team. And also, with all the, runs we do to the outside on those crucial situations, this was to ice the game against Iowa State. I feel like having a guy that can actually execute these things on a consistent basis would take us a long way as well. Ricky White was a lot of fun to watch, man. So I was actually living in Vegas when he dominated in 2023. He had over 1,400 yards, and that was really, really cool. I remember there was that meme about him. I think he pulled the slot machine on the UNLV sideline. I think it was him who did that, and that was pretty funny to think about. But he has done really, really well. And if you look at the production for college wide receivers over the past 2 years, I can almost guarantee you that Ricky White probably is top 5 amongst the past 2 seasons. It doesn't matter if it's D1, D2. Ricky White has done really, really well. And when I see Ricky White, I see a really, really good separator who's also a good yak player. I see a really good separator who, if you get him the ball in space, he can absolutely dust guys. It kind of reminds me what we thought we were getting with Jerry Jeudy. And the reason I say that is because Ricky White shows a lot of the same traits that Jerry Jeudy showed when he was at Alabama. The ability to smoke guys off the line of scrimmage, the ability to, run really, really nice routes, even though that hasn't translated to the NFL for Jeudy. If you take a shot on a guy like Ricky White, you are drafting him with the idea that he is going to be your separation / yak guy. And honestly, I love the idea of more intermediate middle of the field weapons because that is something that we did not do a good job of as a team. It wouldn't hurt to get more guys who can do like short yardage stuff, who can get some nice yak. And overall, I'm just going to show you 2 clips against Syracuse right here. So with Ricky White, we're just going to watch him on 2 in-breaking routes, and we're going to see him do a phenomenal job both times. And I love his ability to pivot and make guys miss as far as his yak ability. So if the Broncos decide to go after a guy like Ricky White, it would be saying that, hey, we need a guy who can actually separate, but can also provide us some yak. Because Troy Franklin, good separator last year, but unfortunately really struggled with yak as well. So if you're drafting a guy like Ricky White, you're basically making the bet that, on day 3, probably early day 3, I imagine Ricky White goes, that you are going to want him to kind of be redshirted for a year or so and learn from the other dudes in the room. This is another absolutely fantastic route, in the red zone right there. Yeah, really enjoyed watching Ricky White as well. Let's watch this one more time. Just absolutely smokes the dude off the line of scrimmage. Like, short intermediate, I feel like this guy's as good as it gets. All right, Andy and David Talks, this one is for you. This one is for you because CU fans have been pumping Will Sheppard's tires ever since college football season ended. And you know what? I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to disagree with that sentiment at all. And a lot of people have been saying that Will Sheppard had insane chemistry with Shedeur. I remember there was a play against Kansas State in the red zone where Will Sheppard just basically had to find the soft spot in the defense, and he did a phenomenal job of that. And you know what? Whoever drafts Shedeur Sanders should also make Will Sheppard a day 3 priority for their team. I just have no idea why he didn't get a combine invite. That's absolutely ludicrous. Luckily, there's going to be a lot of eyes on CU's pro day, as opposed to in the past when there would probably be not that many people that really cared about that. But his yardage totals over the past few years, 577, 776, 684, 621 yards. So he has been a very, very reliable presence no matter where he's been. And I know that he was at Vandy before he transferred to CU. But, for a guy like Will Sheppard, I think a lot of teams, since he's such a smart player, a lot of teams are going to covet that ability. And that could potentially land him on the field sooner rather than later, even if he is taken, day 3 or something like that. So overall, I know it's tough being overshadowed by Travis Hunter in the wide receiver room. And I'm not going to say that he was completely overshadowed, because he still made a name for himself and he still will be in an NFL building this summer at least. And I hope he will be in an NFL building this fall. I'm going to show you 2 clips against UCF right here where he basically bails Shedeur out of an underthrown ball and he wins against the physical corner. As alluded to in the article, Sheppard and Shedeur had some pretty natural chemistry. And if Sheppard does not make this play on this ball, I honestly think it's picked off. So the fact that Sheppard was able to make a play on this ball was miraculous. And it's the difference between a touchdown and an interception that the defender was just waiting on. So well done, Sheppard, right there. Another really smooth route at the bottom here where he does a great job out-physicaling the defensive back. Just overall, a really, really solid player and someone that I think Broncos country is going to love and get really, really excited about the prospects of targeting him, just because, heavily intertwined fan base. But Sheppard makes a lot of sense for this team. And a lot of CU fans I know, like David Talks, are swearing by this dude. So you know what? For all you CU fans, I'm going to trust you on this one. Will Sheppard would be a great pick for us. All right, Oronde Gadsden. So this is the last guy we're going to talk about. And for a pure big body tight end who basically plays as a wide receiver, I've always been skeptical of that. I've always been very skeptical of the people who say, no, you're not getting a tight end, you're getting a big bodied wide receiver. But, for a guy like Oronde Gadsden, Andy mentions that he is basically Kyle Pitts that you can get in the 4th round. Now, the difference is that I think Oronde Gadsden might actually be good. But yeah, so obviously, when you watch guys like LeQuint Allen, you are going to discover Oronde Gadsden, and I think that's something that our guys Andy and Marquee Sports both alluded to. So with Oronde Gadsden, I think he would do so much, because honestly, when you watch him, there's a lot of stuff he does where even if the bar isn't super high on those plays, it is something that we are not getting from anything else or anybody on our roster. So he can play in line, he can play in the slot. The only thing I will say is that Oronde Gadsden has probably, if he tests well at the combine, will probably put himself in the day 2 conversation. And I know that it is a deep tight end class, and he will be a community favorite and dynasty sleeper wherever he ends up. But Gadsden just has a really, really high ceiling. And you know what? If he is a day 1 impact player, which that's not usually the case for tight ends, I wouldn't be surprised. And, McCord to Gadsden was a really, really nice connection this year. So, yeah, overall, I will show you some clips of Gadsden against Cal. I'm usually hesitant of the big-bodied tight end who plays more like a wide receiver thing, because that's how we get tricked into guys like Dalton Kincaid in the 1st round, to be quite frank. But I go back to, do we have a single guy on our team that does this? And when a guy like this, a guy of this archetype, is available in round 3, 4, 5 even, and not round 1, then that's where I'm more in. Because the difference between him and Loveland is that Loveland is a more willing blocker. I'm not going to say that his blocking ability is fantastic or anything like that. But Gadsden, just such a good player. Really, really like him working over the intermediate game, because that's honestly something we had none of last year. And yeah, that basically sums up all the prospects in the film that I want to show you guys for this video. All right, that does it for me. Like I said, follow Andy, follow CU Andy on Twitter. Thank you to Guru Film Room for also making this possible as well. This was absolutely fantastic, and I'm really glad I got to do this mini collaboration with not only Andy, but Guru Film Room. So yeah, make sure to check out everybody within the circle who made this video possible. Go Broncos. Let's draft some sleepers in this draft, and let's compete with the Chiefs. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Big Mile High Salute.